Let's do this haircut step by step. Let's get it. Before anything, I'm going to start by wetting the hair. This will help me get better control and cleaner sections. Now, I'm going to be creating a triangle shaped section. I'm starting from the corners of the forehead, or also known as the recession points, and connecting that to either where the calyx starts or the crown. That gives me a nice clean triangle. Now, why do I section it off this way? Because it allows me to split where the head starts to round, and it lets me keep all that hair that lives along the round of the head. That hair is important because when I drop it down later, I can use it to build a solid weight line on the sides and back. So this section is really about preserving the right hair to create shape and structure. Now, when I say weight line, I'm talking about the shape I'm creating with all the hair I left in that section. I'm already thinking about where that hair is going to fall once I bring it down. I'm building that weight line almost in the same shape I'm going to use for my fade. But I'm not cutting it too short. I want to leave it just long enough so it can still be slicked back and have some movement. So the whole point of this is to keep the right amount of hair in place to work with later when I start cutting the sides and the back. Now, here's where I start doing what's called graduation. That means I'm building weight by working with the hair in a certain way, and for that I'm using diagonal sections. Now, why diagonal? A great mentor once told me your section should follow the direction that the hair flows. And think about it, if we're styling the hair by slicking it back at a slight angle, then it makes sense to section the hair in that same direction. So by taking diagonal sections, it allows the hair to naturally fall into place and keeps the flow looking clean. It also helps me control how the weight is going to be built as I cut. Again, that weight that I'm building is that weight line that I told you guys about. Now, here's the key part. When I look at where the hair is growing, especially around the round part of the head at the top, I start pulling that hair down in the direction I want it to fall on the sides. So think about it. That's where I want the weight line to land. I'm bringing the hair from the top where the head's beginning to round, and I'm lowering it down to the sides and back where I want that weight line to be. So I'm working with elevation here, which basically means the angle I hold the hair at when I cut it. In this case, I'm keeping the elevation low, cutting the hair where I want it to fall, not high up in the air. Even though I didn't fully cut the sides and back because he already had a fade, this part is about connecting everything together and make sure the longer hair blends into the shorter areas. Now, as you can see, I've created a weight line. This weight line not only helps build shape, but it's also going to act as my ceiling of the fade, which I'll talk more about later in the video. Now, one thing I was taught early on too is when you do graduation the right way, you should see a slight triangle shape when you pull the hair from the back. That tells me I built that graduation correctly. Now, it's time to connect the top, the part we had sectioned off earlier, to everything on the sides and back. I'm going to start by combing the hair back, then gently pushing it forward to find where his hair naturally splits. That natural split is important. It usually leads right into the calyx. Now, when I find that natural split, it's not so much about using it as a guide. It's more about working with how the hair wants to lay. If I ignore that and cut against the way the hair naturally separates, it can really throw the whole haircut off. Some areas might end up too short, others too long, and the hair just won't sit right when it's styled. So from here, I'm going to take all the hair from the top section and start connecting it into the weight line I built on the sides. But as I do that, my elevation is going to change depending on what part of the head I'm working on. I don't want the hair to fall directly onto the weight line. I want it to sit just above it, so I'm not pulling the hair straight down. Instead, I'm slightly raising my elevation. What that does is it lets the hair fall a little softer when it lays down, rather than being super heavy and stacking right on that line. Think of it like this. I'm building a soft layer that sits just above the weight line. That helps everything flow better, especially when I comb it back. It'll give it movement without feeling bulky. Now in the back, I raise the elevation a bit more than I do on the sides. Why? Because I don't want the back to be too heavy. I actually want the crown area to have a little bit of volume. What I mean by that is that I want it to poof up just slightly, and cutting it a bit shorter in that area helps with that. Now as I work forward past the ear and towards the face, I start to lower my elevation. I'm letting that hair drop closer to its natural position because I want to preserve more length in the front. So overall, I'm kind of creating a triangle shape that slopes down towards the face. This keeps more length in the front, which helps the hair flow backward when styled. Now here I'm just creating a front reference, and I'm taking both sides from the front, bringing them together and matching them up. What I'm doing here is getting rid of that little peak in the front, creating more of a straight line. This reference point that I created from the front is going to help me when I go to make my middle section, the section that runs straight through the center from the back. This middle section is going to act as my guide for cutting the rest of the top. Now I'm going to take that starting point created in the front and connect it straight back to the length in the back. I'm not really following the round of the head here. What I'm doing is pretty much creating more of a square shape when you look at it from the side. Just keeping that consistent length all the way from the front to the back. and I am point cutting a bit to create a bit of texture. Now what I'm going to do next is even out the top. I'm doing this by creating horizontal sections from side to side, starting from the back of the head and working my way towards the front. I'm using that middle section I cut earlier as my guide, along with the shortest length from the sides when I pull the hair up. Basically, I'm just creating a flat shape at the top, nothing too fancy, just keeping it clean and even. I'm going section by section, pulling the hair straight up each time and cutting across to match everything to that guide. The goal here is to create a straight line across the top from the back to the front so everything blends and lays nicely when styled. Now let's talk about how I style and build texture into the hair. I'm starting by applying some sea salt spray, then mixing in a little bit of clay, while the hair is still wet. Not dripping wet but damp. This combo helps give the hair some volume, a dry textured look, and a nice poofy shape that brings the cut to life. When I blow dry, I like to split the hair down the middle and comb it so it falls to each side. Then I'm going to work section by section, starting from the back and moving forward. And using my styling comb, I scoop the hair up and drag it slightly upward and then back to start building that slick back pompadour type of flow. I let the heat do the work and I stay patient with it. There's no need to rush. I'm blow drying in the same direction the client would style their hair so everything sets in naturally. And as you can see, I am using a concentrator attachment on the blow dryer. It really helps a lot. So what it does is it focuses the airflow into a narrow stream instead of just blowing hair everywhere. That gives me more control when I'm styling and lets me direct the heat exactly where I want it. So as you can see guys, the shape is really coming together, the hair flows back nicely and everything looks clean. At this point I've already built the structure I need, which means I'm ready to start fading. This is exactly why I always tell people it's important to start with your shear work first. When you build the shape and structure early on, it gives you a clear foundation for your fade. It makes the whole process smoother and more controlled. Now I'm going to go in and do a low drop fade with hooks, and I'm keeping my baseline here really low. Not taking it too high at all, and I'm just shaving everything underneath. Once that's in, I'm going to be going in with my number 3 guard with the lever closed to start debulking and work my way up towards the length I set earlier with my shear work. That length I created with the shears, that's my ceiling. That's my stopping point. It's like the roof of the fade. So I'm gently flicking into that weight line and blending everything together, keeping it soft and clean. And again, that's why I kind of like to start off with the shape first, is because I'm not guessing where to fade into. It's already been mapped out with the shear work. Now I'm going to go in with my 1.5 guard with the lever closed, and I'm taking it up about 1 inch to 1.5 inches above the base. I'm still following the same shape as my original baseline, and that's really important to keep the flow consistent. But without switching guards, I'm going to open the lever and start blending upwards, slowly putting everything together. I'm flicking into that number 3 guard area I set earlier. In some areas, I'm also gliding the clipper with the blade slightly angled outward. This helps me blend without cutting off too much. It keeps things soft and controlled. Now once that's done, I'm going to go in with my thinning shears to soften everything up and clean up any dark spots. That helps me finish off the top section of the fade and really bring that foundation together. Now once the top foundation of the fade is done, it's time to move on to the bottom. I'm starting with the half guard with the lever closed and creating a guideline about 1/2 inch to 1 inch wide, following the same shape as my baseline. Then without switching guards, I open the lever and begin blending that line into the 1.5 area. This is where I'll kind of really bring the whole fade together. Now for the finer details, just to avoid cutting too much, I like to go in with my thinning shears and smooth everything out. It helps soften any harsh spots and connect everything nicely. And after this, I went in with my 0 to blend in the bald line into the fade using gentle flicks. Once that was established, I went ahead and cleaned up anything underneath using my trimmers. And even detailed a bit in the middle of the fade using my half guard. After that, I'll line up his C-cups. And guys, it's totally okay to bring the C-cups slightly back if needed. Some clients actually prefer when it looks like a true C. Not a diagonal slash, not too short, and definitely not a boxy shape. You just want a nice natural curve. If you need to push it a little bit, do it, but don't overdo it. Then I'll lightly apply some enhancements only to the client's preference, just to sharpen things up a bit. And now to finish off, I'm going to add a small amount of clay to help contain and shape the hair even more. I blow dry using cold air after to lock the style and set the product in place. Cold air actually helps seal the cuticle, the outermost layer of the hair, and locks in the shape and texture, especially when using products like clay. Locking in the shape, product, and the moisture actually gives the hair a cleaner and more polished finish. And that was pretty much it, guys. That was the full tutorial. If you found this helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe for more. I'll be dropping new videos every Tuesday or Wednesday, once a week. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments. You might be helping someone else out too. I'm always checking feedback, so let me know what you want to see next.